just watched The Tick again, and it's really good. I talked about it in the last video about The Tick, the new live-action series on Netflix, Amazon, pardon me. Sorry, Amazon. You're getting outclassed left and right, man. But maybe this will be the thing. Regardless, Amazon Originals. Generally, Amazon's had a few things here and there, but it's never had anything that never knocked anything out of the park, never had anything that's like, that's one of my favorite shows. Whereas Netflix has so many, it's nuts. With more in the pipe, God. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. So I wanted to do like kind of a spoiler Tick video, because it's so good. It was really good. I really liked it. On second blush, watching it again, I can I see a little better the direction they're going in. It's, okay, so the way this version of the Tick works is that initially the premise was maybe the Tick is a figment of Arthur's imagination. And they actually have that in the advertising, like, is the Tick a figment of Arthur's imagination because Arthur is mentally unwell. And I don't think that works very well. I think they should have just dropped that. It was a cool idea, but it's not expressed well in the show. And it just doesn't play out well. I'm getting ahead of myself, but let's get into this just a little. It's late at night and it's super dark. Okay, so, God, where to start with this? If I haven't said this already, this is the spoiler. This is very spoiler. This is spoiler. Many spoilers. If you haven't seen The Tick yet, go see it. Because it's worth seeing. Make Amazon aware that people are willing to watch this show and want to watch the show because it's a great show. But let's go into that. It starts off with Arthur, who's shown as being mentally disturbed, and not in a goofy, zany sort of way. It's really, you feel for this character. This version of Arthur is really, at first, very well done as an empathetic protagonist. He's down on his luck. He's kind of on his own. He's struggling, and really struggling. It's very interesting. And even if this weren't a comedy, this would be an interesting character. If this weren't The Tick, if this were not a comedy, not The Tick, this would be an interesting character. Put him in something else, he'd still be interesting. His sister Dot, or Dorothy in this version, who was a character in The Tick, it was more of a comic relief sort of, hey, Arthur has a sister, and she's really normal, which sort of played off the bizarreness of Arthur and Tick's life. In this one, I don't know how that'll play out, but right now she's definitely the straight man, the foil for Arthur, at least initially. Like, she's well-organized person, has her shit together, has an important job as a paramedic, trying to take care of her mentally unwell brother. And, that's cool. Now, once again, character number 2, very well developed. Very interesting character, even though we've only seen a few minutes of her. And it's like, I get this character. I get where she's coming from. I understand her motivations. This will be really cool to see what happens when she's introduced to the Tick. This is going to be great. Once again, something that hasn't happened, but leading us up into it, it gives us a sense of anticipation. This better not just be a pilot, or else I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Man. And then where do we go from there? From the next part is Arthur. Next, here's our plot point. And it's a good motivating force. The Terror is a bad guy. He's evil. We don't see enough of him to get a real good what is his motivation. But we get enough of him to go, he's a very effective villain. He's got a bunch of henchmen. He's got a giant letter T that he flies around with. T seems to be a reoccurring motif. thinking back, I seem to recall the Terror had like a giant spider thing he tooled around in or something like that. Man, I should look that up. But I don't feel like I want to do this. This is late at night. I'm getting sleepy. It's dark as hell. Like curtains, there's no natural light in here. It's nighttime, kids. So we're just gonna plow through this. I love the way gosh, where'd it go? Introduced to 2 characters, very well developed. The next thing we see is this. God, I need to take a break because this is just this. I need to get into this full steam. God damn it! All right. Oh, okay. The Terror. We're introduced through flashback to the Terror, and as I said, we don't see enough of him to say is this a well-developed character or not, but that's okay because what we see is mighty damn cool. We see the igniting event for Arthur's mental instability. He literally sees he's adores what are they, the Freedom Five or the Fabulous Five or something like that. There's a superhero group. He absolutely idolizes them, wants to be one of them. In his head, he's like, kind of, yeah, I could be a superhero, even he's just a little kid. His dad's a pilot. Very cool. Nice setup. Looks like his dad's a super nice guy. Which is a damn shame, because then he gets crushed by the superhero jet, which is crashing, because I assume it crashes because the Terror has blinded the superheroes with weaponized syphilis. Bam. Okay. There we go. So this scene happens. Arthur's dad gets crushed by a super jet. The superheroes, 3 of them, not 5, crawl out, and they've been blinded. They're bleeding from their eyes. The Terror's terror ship lands, unleashes a bunch of henchmen in the Terror, at which point the Terror has one of his henchmen shoot a dude in the face. Why am I laughing at that? I'm a horrible person. I'm an awful person. I should be spanked, ladies. Getting way off base. I'm getting sleepy. It's late. Anyway, so I gotta get through this. That's awesome. Because on one hand, it is kind of played a little for yucks, but that is a dark, grim, evil, my favorite flavor of comedy that there freaking is. Played very dry, like this is a serious drama, even though it's silly guys in costumes. What could transform a bunch of silly guys in costumes into a serious scene? 1, having a kid just watch his dad die. 2, watching a superhero get shot in the fucking face while they've all bleeding from their eyes because the Terrors, I quote, my virus has eaten their eyes, finished them off, and they shoot them in the face. And they decide to leave what's his face, the captain, whoever it is, his sidekick, just crush his hands. Because what could be worse than shooting a guy in the face? Oh, just cripple him. Just crush his hands. He's already permanently blind. Crush his hands. Good. God damn. The Tick? Where are you going with this? I want to know. And that's awesome. Back in the real world, back in the modern time, we see Arthur's being interviewed by a psychiatrist, a police psychiatrist type lady. Dr. Cook, I think, is the character's name in the credits. And Dr. Cook finds out that she suspects Arthur isn't taking his meds, and we learn Arthur is not taking his meds, and he's actually the quote-unquote the little boy. Once again, excellent development point for Arthur. He's not just someone who's been broken by a traumatic event, seeing his heroes, literally all of his heroes, his dad and the superheroes he idolized, murdered in front of him. but he's also gets to be a celebrity on top of it. What did the doctor say? You poor broken man. And it just, once again, everything points to Arthur. Which is interesting. Not making the Tick the main character. The Tick is a main character, but not the main character. That definitely goes. Tick shares is a shared primary character. Like he's kind of almost sort of a secondary character, but he's the title character, so he can't be just a secondary character. Arthur is. It's all about Arthur. And everything points to him, everything develops him. Having himself not just be a traumatized person, but an object of general pity. Like, oh, you're that kid. Holy shit, you must be really fucked up. Once again, we, the audience, have something to empathize with this character, poor Arthur. And at the same time, not just poor Arthur because of the awful thing that happened to him in that moment, but also because everyone pities him. And that can be, and it never blatantly explains it, never goes into any great length, just shows you that and walks off. Draw your own conclusions. But yeah, that's an awful thing to kind of do to someone. Just the pity itself is kind of awful. So once again, because of the way his sister treats him, and she's not a bad person, but she is like, Arthur, what are you going to do? Let's say it's true that the terror is still alive somehow. What are you going to, do you think you're going to be the one to stop him? No, obviously not. That would be crazy. And we have little flashback, with a little hints of, Arthur, are you having thoughts again? You're not doing anything obsessive again, are you? Or, you do hear and see things. And that's kind of where I guess the lead-in for maybe the Tick is part of his psychosis. But then we see right away the Tick interacts with people while Arthur isn't around. He brings him the suit, he blows the shit up. It's clearly, and he has conversations when Arthur isn't around. So clearly, it can't be a figment of his imagination. It was a neat angle to go with. I think they should have just dropped it. It was a nice idea, but it doesn't go anywhere. If you didn't see the advertising, you wouldn't even be aware of it. It wasn't clear enough. So it's not even a strike against it. It's a minor thing. Everything else makes up for it because that's awesome. But the Tick, then we see back at where the Tick, after he's introduced to Arthur, and God, I'm so rushing ahead of myself. The Tick is introduced to Arthur. It's like Arthur is not sure the Tick is real. And that, once again, that's kind of, he looks up the Tick in the superhero database and is like, no, there's no one called the Tick. No, maybe I did just imagine him. I need to take my meds. But Arthur convinces the Tick to use finesse, because the Tick just wants to run in and punch guys. He's the Tick. And once again, here's another character who's been introduced to us, and we know a great deal about him, even though he doesn't have a lot of screen time, doesn't say a lot at first. We get the impression very clearly. Draconian concision. Waste no time, waste no energy, waste no words. And no scenes in this case either. Everything points directly towards this is what the characters are like, this is where they're going. The Tick seems to understand that he is not a very good finesse person. He is thrilled that, he immediately assumes Arthur's going to be a sidekick. He's just a kooky character, but portraying someone like the Tick realistically is strange. This is a strange show. I hope they bring a lot of the secondary and tertiary characters in, because I'd love to see what they do to American Maid and their Fleeter Mouse or Batmanuel or whatever they want to do there, or the Sewer Urchin or the Chameleon or anyone like that. I really want to see what they do with it. How they do this. How in the hell do they do this? Or the Immortal. That was a great storyline from the previous live-action Tick. At any rate, the Tick kind of, well, I have to use finesse, but I can't let them get away. So he goes down and just Just walks right through, because they're just normal guys with guns. There's a lot of them, they're well armed, but it doesn't matter. He's the Tick, he's nigh invulnerable, as we well know, because we've been following this shit for a while. Just easily, literally flicks a guy with his finger, just off you go, and accidentally blows the entire place up. Once again, not a figment of Arthur's imagination if he's blowing shit up, accidentally or otherwise. Also, all the villains are aware of him. So there's the... Anyway, that was a pointless thing. Everything else it works very, very, very well. From that point, he shows up at Arthur's place. He's like, look, I got this... as an aside real quick, before we jump into that, we have a couple villains. We have this lady who's... I don't think I caught the character's name. I know it wasn't said on the show. I could have looked at the credit thing and just seen the character's name, but she's this lady with no pupil, like blind in one eye or something like that, and a weird, like Harry Potter lightning bolt scar on her face. Obviously, at least for the time being, the primary antagonist. She's like, okay, who blew this shit up? Oh, we think that he was working with that little guy. Well, we have people in the precinct. We'll hunt him down. They caught him last night. Finding him's easy. I'm actually kind of curious how the Tick finds him. That's the one, in my mind, the plot hole. We know how the police can find him. We know how the bad guys can find him. How's the Tick find him? See, that's never explained. And Tick says his powers are he's super fast. He has incredible agility. He's nigh invulnerable. He's a strength of 10, nay, 20 men. The dialogue's great. It's delivered well. It's the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. I think they chose him because he's tall and he can do a funny voice. He wouldn't have been my first choice, but he's doing good, and I want to see him do more. I want more of this guy. Give us this guy. But so the bad guys figure out where Arthur is. At this point, Tick has given Arthur the only surviving piece of equipment, the super suit that we have established is completely bulletproof. Her actual words are, it is 100% bulletproof. He has like he puts on the suit, it's like fit for like a smaller guy. And the Tick is like, look, it's destiny is calling, and look, a suit for like a guy who's your size. I think the message is pretty clear, Arthur. Cool line. Arthur puts it on, the goggles come down. It's a neat suit. It's the most high-tech version of Arthur's suit I've ever seen. The wings, it's not bad. It's neat. It looks interesting. It's visually interesting outfit. It doesn't look bad. We've only seen a little of it. The effects are a little halfway. If I have any complaint, I mean, I get this is an interesting route for the Tick's costume too. Let's go into the costumes a little bit. Tick's costume it's like he's actually has an exoskeleton, like a Tick, in addition to an endoskeleton, I guess, like a person. So maybe two skeletons. It's got two skeletons, thus making him nigh invulnerable. Interesting route, like a textured outfit. That's smart. Other than just plain blue. I mean, obviously the Tick was drawn because it was a silly comic way back when. Just making him blue in a simple spandex sort of looking outfit with the antenna is very simple, but needed to be more visually interesting. Otherwise, he'd just be boring. There'd be nothing distinctive about him. So, good route. Not a bad one. It looks okay, especially around the face and ears. It's a little, I don't know about it. Maybe this is just the pilot, and maybe they'll redo the pilot or in the first or second episode. Assuming the show survives, and God, I hope it does. Maybe they'll like kind of slowly upgrade him, like get a better look for the outfit. It looks fine, just around the face it needs a little work. Arthur's outfit looks pretty good. Be interested to see where that goes too. Maybe that might get cleaned up a little, but it looks fine as it is. Instead of a plain white body stocking, it looks like a high-tech superhero outfit. Cool. Where are we? Spoiler. From there, bad guys show up at Arthur's apartment. They shoot at him while he goes, "Bah!" But that's okay, because like I said, we're well aware his outfit is 100% bulletproof, and this is just the pilot, so he's probably going to be fine. And that's the end of the episode. That's the end of our pilot. And that's a great episode. I hope they make more. Like I've been saying, the character development is fast-paced and strong. Not just swift and clever. I mean, some of those are very clever, but strong. Like, really, I could describe Arthur without telling you what he looks like, which was an exercise I saw. I think at Red Letter Media did it. I've seen it in writing class things like, what's the character of this person? What is their character? And between the nervous tick, once again, the tick. He has a nervous tick in one eye ever since his dad was killed, and he was hassled by the terror, who kind of made fun of him a little and stole his ice cream. I mean, like, was partially responsible for killing his dad, murdered his heroes, and then stole his ice cream. That's harsh, man. So he develops a tick in one eye. And that was a neat little detail. A lot of good details in this, too. This is a well thought out show. Like, someone probably aware that Amazon Originals doesn't make great shows is kind of like, this has to be great. For this to even survive, it's got to be like super duper good. So they just pushed the limit. I think they did a pretty good job. I liked it. I hope they make more. I don't think there's anything else to say about it. And if you have something to say, comment about it. I'd be interested to hear someone else's ideas on this. Not just have my eyes in front of it, because I'm not even aware of anyone else who's seen the thing. So please comment. Give me something to talk about. And like and subscribe. Please. Could really use it. I think that's it. I'm out.